aesthetic code in the watch world. And for that reason, you simply cannot miss one on the wrist. There are so many ways.
운동할게요.
Is it the oversized crown guard? Is it
허리가
the
너무
overall
아픕니다.
shape of the case? All of these things, while being very aesthetically pleasing and very noticeable, are in fact very functional too, and speak to the Luminor's purpose first as a dive watch to navigate, and using at the time cutting edge luminosity to be able to see the numerals and the indices underwater. Now, the story goes that the Luminor was spotted in a boutique in Florence by none other than Sylvester Stallone. He was looking for a watch to wear in his new movie Daylight. He chose the Luminor, and the rest really is history, because the Luminor has gone on to have this star-spangled Hollywood career, featuring in so many movies on so many famous wrists.
This is CNN 10. My name is Carl Zeus. I'll be your explainer-in-chief.
Relevant stories, complex issues explained, all in 10 minutes. CNN 10 on your laptop right at home. Stream at youtube.com/CNN10.
We have to figure out the best way to get where we want to be. Let's get after it. The death toll is climbing. Cases are still going up.
This virus has enormous capabilities of spreading like wildfire.
When you see something that you know is wrong, you call the police. Why didn't he call 911? States need help. Federal government's quiet on too much.
Black Lives Matter should not be a partisan debate.
The virus is a contagious virus. It's getting out of control.
Homo Prime Time, Tuesday through Saturday on CNN.
호모 형님 같이 뉴스 진행하나 보네요.
In just a few hours, opening statements begin in the trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. He's charged with murdering George Floyd after video seen around the world captured Chauvin pressing his knee to Floyd's neck for nearly 8 minutes. CNN's Omar Jimenez has more.
The eyes of a movement, one that sparked protests worldwide in the name of George Floyd, shift to a courtroom in Minneapolis.
Anything else for the record?
Now to opening statements in the trial of Derek Chauvin. The former Minneapolis police officer has pleaded not guilty to the charges he faces: second-degree unintentional murder, second-degree manslaughter, and third-degree murder in the death of George Floyd. Outside the courtroom, emotions will be running high. There have already been multiple protests throughout the city, all the way up to the eve of opening statements.
They've done so peacefully, and they've assembled and gathered peacefully. We will continue to expect more demonstrations.
But the destruction that happened in May 2020 in the aftermath of Floyd's death is still fresh on the minds of city officials, and it's why the building that houses the courtroom has virtually become a fortress due to increased security measures, with the mayor saying there's more to come.
Residents should be expecting a gradual increase in law enforcement and National Guard presence as we progress through the trial.
The first step in this trial,
How does that make you feel?
I'm okay with that.
was getting through jury selection, which lasted exactly 2 weeks,
You will serve on our jury.
resulting in 15 jurors, 14 of which will be a part of the trial.
This 15th juror was to make sure that we have 14 people show up on Monday.
Their identities remain unknown for now. Sunday night, a vigil was held, the Floyd family in attendance, a reminder of what many feel is at stake.
I didn't ask to be in this fraternity that nobody wants to be a part of.
think about my brother every day, every night. I think about his kids, so they won't have to go through what we're going through.
As the trial moves forward, witnesses will be called by both prosecutors for the state and the defense for Derek Chauvin. Among what we know will be talked about, a portion of a 2019 George Floyd arrest, for which he was never charged, but one where he ended up being sent to the hospital instead of jail. An interaction with police, defense attorneys for Chauvin argued, was similar to May 2020. A paramedic from that day in 2019 is also expected to testify.
The whole point here is we have medical evidence on what happens when Mr. Floyd is faced with virtually the same situation. Confrontation by police at gunpoint, followed by a rapid ingestion of some drugs.
Our system of justice is a bit on trial. Can we give Mr. Chauvin a fair trial? Because that's essential. Can we give the state a fair chance to find him guilty under the law and the evidence?
The trial is expected to last up to 4 weeks. All the while, a city, a family, a movement watches anxiously over what criminal accountability looks like in the death of George Floyd. And before court this morning, we're expecting a silent, kneeling protest representing the amount of time Derek Chauvin's knee was on George Floyd's neck. Court begins at 10 a.m. Eastern time. This is a moment that has been a long time coming. Opening statements in a trial many see as a major step toward justice for George Floyd. Allison.
Omar, we know you'll be watching every moment of it and bringing it to us. Thank you very much. So coming up, we have brand new interviews with the nation's top health officials for the Trump administration's pandemic response. What Dr. Deborah Birx says the U.S. could have done to prevent hundreds of thousands of deaths.
All new Inside Africa. Follow the stories taking shape throughout the continent. Go inside the inventive minds, the evolving places, and the creative trends of the Africa you need to know now. Inside Africa, only on CNN. In association with Zenith Bank.
The big companies selling you your smartphones and electric vehicles are worth trillions of dollars. All those devices and cars have cobalt in them. But the people digging that cobalt out of the ground earn $1 or $2 a day. That's an injustice, that is modern slavery, and that cannot stand. My name is Siddharth Kara. I'm a British Academy Global Professor and an adjunct lecturer at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. For the last few years, I've been traveling to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and I've been researching cobalt mining. What I've seen in the Congo is hell on earth. There are children caked in grime and filth, digging in pits and tunnels to excavate cobalt-containing ore, and that ore gets processed and refined and sent up into the formal supply chain to smartphone makers and EV manufacturers around the world. I think the most important thing young people can do is to be aware of the fact that the children in the Congo scraping and scrounging for cobalt are directly touching their lives every day. And I think knowing that and spreading awareness of that is the most important first step. And awareness will lead to action.
We are entering into a very exciting period for commercial exploration of space. And, you know, there's going to be a lot of activity in low Earth orbit. There may even be opportunities in lunar orbit, even lunar surface operations. The other thing that's very exciting to us is high-speed travel, you know, and we think that we can evolve our vehicles into vehicles that could take people between continents at a very rapid pace. And so that's something that we're really excited about as well. I think the climate issue is a key part. We're not just trying to do high-speed travel, we're trying to do sustainable high-speed travel. I think, you know, modern tools, modern materials, and a lot of great hard work will generate a high-speed vehicle that is sustainable. And that is really the core of whatever we're working on is that idea of long-term sustainability.
Have you been bitten by the bug of curiosity? This is CNN 10. My name is Carl Azus. I'll be your explainer-in-chief. Global news. International relations are the key factors. Relevant stories. Everyday people whose action is changing their community. Complex issues explained. We're going back to the future. And 10-second trivia. You get a perfect 10 out of 10. All in 10 minutes. Stream at youtube.com/CNN10.
I'm Julia Chastity. I'll speak to newsmakers, risk takers, and the ultimate game changers.
First Move with Julia Chatterley, weeknights on CNN.
Real news that shapes our world.
Connect the world with Becky Anderson, Monday through Friday on CNN.
In just hours, opening statements will begin in the murder trial against former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. Chauvin is charged with unintentional second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and manslaughter in the death of George Floyd. Joining us now is CNN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney Joey Jackson and retired LAPD Police Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey. It's good to have you both with us. Sergeant Dorsey, I want to begin with you because one of the things that's hanging over this trial, one of the reasons the stakes feel so high, is that there is a pattern in this country of indictments against police officers not resulting in prosecutions. And we looked at data conducted by Bowling Green University, 104 sworn non-federal officers charged with murder or manslaughter between 2005 and 2019, only 35 convicted, around a third of those. What does that stat say to you about the systemic problems that we're confronting as a country and how they may play out in this trial?
Well, what it says to me is that great deference is given to a police officer's version of events, and jurors find it very difficult to side against an officer